A race against time and rescue efforts 2 days after Friday's 7.7 magnitude earthquake in Myanmar. The third and final day of this year's Hong Kong Sevens. And the U.S. Defense Secretary says Japan is indispensable in tackling what he calls aggressive actions by China. Hello and welcome to TVB News. I'm Melissa Hekalea. International aid is being rushed to earthquake-ravaged Myanmar, and rescue teams from other nations have arrived there in a race against time. Myanmar authorities say the death toll from the 7.7 magnitude quake has risen to 1,700. More than 3,000 others were injured, including 13 Chinese nationals. To facilitate relief efforts, Myanmar's shadow National Unity government has announced a unilateral partial ceasefire. Danny Zhou has details.
Teams from China, India, Singapore and Thailand intensified rescue efforts on the ground after Friday's devastating earthquake. Much of the focus was on Mandalay, Myanmar's second-largest city, and Naypyidaw, the capital city, both of which suffered extensive damage. Scores of people were feared trapped under toppled buildings. Heavy equipment was brought in to scour the rubbles. Numerous roads have been damaged in the deadliest natural disaster to hit Myanmar in years. Residents say many regions have been left without power and people are running short of drinking water and clean food. Aid efforts have been partially hindered by damage to airports. This as the quake sent the air traffic control tower at the Naypyidaw International Airport toppling to the ground. Chinese civil rescue forces from Yunnan province, along with local firefighters, successfully retrieved an elderly man from a collapsed hospital in Naypyidaw on Sunday morning. Meanwhile, a 51-strong team from Hong Kong is en route to the disaster area in Naypyidaw. Their flight, laden with 9 tons of supplies, landed in Yangon on Saturday night. They were greeted at the airport by the Chinese ambassador as well as representatives from the Hong Kong Chamber of Commerce in Myanmar. The regional emergency chief of the United Nations Children's Fund expressed concerns for the crisis, saying the agency will distribute critical aid kits to children in Myanmar.
These are tents, dignity kits, hygiene kits, recreational kits as well. So what we're attempting to do is get initial supplies on the ground so that we can make sure that children have access to safe water. There's going to be some health supplies there as well. And then also with the recreational kits, we'll be able to make sure that they have a sense of normalcy in such a chaotic time as well.
The earthquake has plunged people in the war-torn country into heightened struggles, while some analysts pointed to the possibility that the disaster could bring a moment of peace. It was reported that Myanmar's military regime had resumed its attacks on some of the rebel-held areas even after the tremors. The armed wing of the ousted civilian government, however, has announced a 2-week unilateral ceasefire in quake-affected zones to facilitate relief efforts starting on Sunday. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
In neighboring Thailand, another country affected by Friday's quake, the death toll stands at 17 this evening, with 32 others injured and 83 still missing. Thai Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra has ordered an investigation into the collapse of the State Audit Office building that was under construction. Some Bangkok residents criticized the government for failing to cope with the catastrophe in a competent manner. Samantha Lee tells us more.
2 days after the earthquake hit, Bangkok mostly returned to normal on Sunday. Yet behind the calm surface are worries. This 88-story Bagyok Sky Hotel, once the tallest building in Thailand, shows signs of leaning. The hotel operator said a thorough inspection found the building remains in a safe condition without structural damage. They explained that the building has an earthquake-resistant design, allowing it to sway in a controlled manner during seismic events. But in some other structures in the city, cracks have appeared in their walls.
It's a safe building. Nothing happened. I'm worried, but it happened first time in Thailand, so it's okay. Now it's drawn, and I don't think he's come back again.
The Thai Meteorological Department said because of internal signal problems, it was unable to immediately send earthquake warnings to the people. Some residents said they were helpless amid the quake and complained about inadequate information issued by the government.
Government, no, really low action for people in the country. We don't receive any emergency SMS to warn us what to do, what happened now. We don't know things. We know the situation by ourselves, by searching in the social media only.
A 33-story government building under construction in Bangkok came tumbling down during the quake on Friday. Rescue work is underway at the site of the audit office being built by joint Thai-Chinese enterprises. Paramedics recovered the body of one of the victims. A worker from Myanmar who survived the collapse could not find his wife. He was in tears while searching for her. Meanwhile, some volunteer rescuers deployed small-sized robots to help search for the missing people under the rubble.
My team are sending a robot in there, and the rescue team will drop down the robot in the tunnel, and we are gonna scan all of it inside of the tunnel. I hope to scan it all of it and see all the under construction site that it's okay to sending someone in there.
As search and rescue operations continue, supplies such as water and food have been sent to the site by volunteers. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
Today is the last day of the Hong Kong Sevens. Kai Tak Sports Stadium continues to be packed with enthusiastic spectators. Mimo Singhai reports.
On the last day of the Rugby Sevens, the atmosphere at the main stadium in Kai Tak was buzzing. Spectators from all over the world gathered to support their teams. Shouting, chanting and waving coming from all over the stadium. Some were dressed in costumes and explained the reason for wearing the outfit.
I'm tall enough, so I dress like Sullivan. They make everybody scared. I've been attending this as a third year. Of course, it's the first time in Kai Tak, but I think the atmosphere is really awesome, even better than in the Hong Kong Stadium.
Many spectators said they traveled to Hong Kong not just for the Rugby Sevens, but also for the new stadium.
Kai Tak Sports Center is the new one and the biggest one, and we love rugby so much. We watch it every year, but this year we must come back.
In between matches, music will be played to elevate the atmosphere at the stadium.
At around 4 p.m., a Cathay Pacific aircraft flew near the Kai Tak Stadium, marking the centennial of the old Kai Tak Airport. Such a flyover brought back nostalgic memories for residents. The plane also flew past the old Kai Tak runway. The aircraft then turned around from East Hong Kong Island to make its salute to the old airport. Memos 9, TVB News.
And there was a fireworks display at the Kai Tak Stadium earlier tonight, marking the end of this year's Hong Kong Sevens. Take a look. There were 28 firing points, and those fireworks went up as high as 25 meters into the sky, which is pretty amazing. And viewers, spectators got a 360-degree angle look at those incredible fireworks. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says Japan is indispensable in tackling Chinese aggression. He says it helps Washington establish a credible deterrence in the region, including across the Taiwan Strait. He called Japan a cornerstone of peace and security in the Indo-Pacific, while in Japan as part of his first official visit to Asia. Japan is his second stop after the Philippines. Tracy Furness has more.
In a news briefing alongside his Japanese counterpart, General Nakatani, on Sunday, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced the upgrade of a joint U.S. Forces Japan headquarters, reaffirming military bonds between the two countries.
America first does not mean America alone. America's warriors stand shoulder to shoulder every day with their Japan Self-Defense Force counterparts. Our forces operate and train together across all domains to uphold deterrence.
General Nakatani echoed Hegseth's plans, saying that expanding their joint presence is one of the top priorities of the alliance, and that the two sides agreed to accelerate efforts towards the early start of a joint production of air-to-air missiles.
The U.S.-Japan alliance shows those brave men of 1945 how yesterday's enemy has become today's friend. Our alliance has been and remains the cornerstone of freedom, prosperity, security, and peace in the Indo-Pacific, and it will continue. As we remember the many who gave their lives here for the peace we now enjoy.
Hegseth's trip comes as Beijing has been showing increasing assertiveness in the disputed South China Sea, and President Donald Trump made threats to impose trade tariffs on the Philippines, a key U.S. ally. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Still ahead, Hamas agrees to a Gaza ceasefire proposal it received earlier from mediators. Doctors say Pope Francis has shown truly surprising improvement in his health condition. And locally more cold weather in the coming 2 days. Welcome back. As Eid got underway, Gaza faced Israeli airstrikes. Hamas says they've agreed to a deal which would see them release 5 hostages and Israeli forces draw back from the Strip. Israel has put in a counter-proposal to international mediators, and their troops continue attacks on Hamas in Gaza. David Garrett reports.
A solemn atmosphere as the Islamic holy month of Ramadan ends and the festival of Eid begins in Gaza. These people have little to celebrate. Many of these Palestinians say they have given up praying for peace. Abdel al-Sha'a calls it an Eid of sadness. He says it's time to reflect on losing children and losing our future. As prayers continue, he starts to cry. Abdul tells the camera he has lost 20 family members to airstrikes. The health ministry says more than 50,000 have been killed since Israel began attacking Hamas following the October 7th, 2023 attack. Nearly 1,000 Gazans have died during the renewed onslaught. Israel resumed its campaign against Hamas this month, breaking an 8-week ceasefire. Air raid sirens wail in Israel as the military says it intercepted rockets fired from the Houthis in Yemen. The group has targeted Israel since the resumption of the Gaza war. A new peace proposal is being discussed. Hamas leader Khalil al-Hayya says his group has agreed to release 5 living hostages, including an American Israeli, in exchange for a 50-day truce. Israel is considering its next move. Scuffles broke out with police as these protesters urged Benjamin Netanyahu's government to do the deal. Throughout the conflict, they maintain the top priority must be to free hostages. While an Eid agreement could release hostages and pause the Israel-Hamas conflict, Israeli agreements with Hezbollah in Lebanon look flimsy. A day after the first Israeli strike on Beirut this year, the IDF shows strikes on other alleged Hezbollah sites elsewhere in Lebanon. Hezbollah Secretary General Naim Qassem stepped up the rhetoric. Israel is using excuses to kill, Qassem says, and continues. If Israel does not agree to stay out of Lebanon and the Lebanese state is unable to achieve this, Hezbollah has no choice but to resort to other options. David Garrett, TVB News.
Pope Francis has shown truly surprising improvement since returning to the Vatican. That's according to his doctors who coordinated the pontiff's 5-week hospitalization due to a life-threatening bout of double pneumonia. Francis appeared frail and weak as he greeted well-wishers from his hospital balcony last Sunday, shortly before he left Rome's Gemelli Hospital. He was only able to partially lift one arm to bless the people while he gasped for air in his wheelchair. His voice was waning as he praised a woman in the crowd for bringing flowers. The 88-year-old Pope was hospitalized on February 14th after a long bout of bronchitis left him breathless as it developed into double pneumonia. Doctors have ordered the Pope to rest for at least 2 months and to avoid crowds. Locally, a cold weather warning remains in force this evening. Temperatures in various districts fell to 12 degrees Celsius or lower this morning. The observatory expects more cold weather in the coming 2 days. Hong Kong has once again encountered a late spring cold snap. People bundled up and put on beanies and scarves to keep warm. This morning, the observatory recorded a low temperature of 12.7 degrees Celsius in Tsim Sha Tsui. In some areas in the new territories, such as Tai Po and Ta Kwu Ling, it was below 11 degrees at one point. The observatory expects the temperatures to go up in the middle and latter parts of this week. The Center for Health Protection has advised the elderly and those with chronic illnesses to put on warm clothing and avoid prolonged time outdoors. That's the news. Thanks for watching. Have a great evening.